Welcome to Jordan Drew, the Sports Crew, the EWC basketball breakdown for March 1st. Robert Shimmick and myself, we are here today. No Jordon Lawrenz. We're taking over for playoffs. This is going to be a lot of fun. Robert, how you doing today?
We're doing great. Ready for some playoff basketball.
Yeah, this is my favorite time of the year. You know, we got March Madness coming up. That's a lot of fun for college hoops. Robert's recovering after the WIAC championship. His UW Oshkosh Titans, they get the job done over the Platteville Pioneers. So, Robert, you feeling good right now?
Yeah, tough to beat a team 3 times in 1 year. Always hear the cliche line, but yeah, that was a dogfight yesterday. Had the privilege of filming the game, so sitting in the Platteville section, that was an experience. But yeah, great game, and hopefully we can continue our season.
Yeah, EWC greats in that game. Kyle Tuma, one of them, had a big game. Yeah. 18, I think, right?
Yeah. Oh, he had 20.
Oh, he 25? 25. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, so he went off. Sadly, the Pioneers could not get the job done, but hey, let's go into girls hoops for the EWC. The season is over, and now it's postseason time. The Brilliant Lions are your conference champions, 13-1 in conference, 23-3 overall. For Coach Jeff Capelli's Lions. And talking then stats, Grace Shizzle was the scoring leader with 24.8 a game. Olivia Hurl, 23.1. Megan Schumann, 19 a game. Emma Edelman, 15.9. And then Kenzie Graff with 15. And then for rebounds, Olivia Hurl, yet again, 9.3 rebounds. Peyton Grenzer, 8.6. Then Allison Kakis, 8.1. Assists per game, Alyssa Wolfel, 4.9. Jocelyn April, 3.7. Then Maya Emmer, 3.7. So that wraps up the stats. Rest of the conference, New Holstein finished 12-2 in conference, 21-5 overall. Kiel, 11-3 in conference, 21-5 overall. Chilton Tigers, 7-7 in conference, 14-12 overall. The Valders Vikings, 5-9 in conference, 10-16 overall. Two Rivers Raiders, 4-10, 12-14 overall. And then Sheboygan Falls, 4-10 in conference, 9-17 overall. And then the Roncalli Jets, 0-14 in conference, 3-22 overall. So that wraps up the conference stuff there. And then, Robert, we go to the brackets. We'll start then in Division 4 here. And I just want to hear your thoughts, talking brackets. We saw this year they kind of implement the computer generating matchups. And let's hear what you think.
Well,
it's terrible.
It's difficult because I'm between the fact that what are they going to announce? The seating meetings are going to come back, or they're going to drastically alter it, because I'd say it was kind of an unsuccessful year one. Obviously it wasn't going to be perfect. It wasn't going to be as good as probably coaches in meetings. But I mean, there's just a couple examples. I didn't look at the girls' side too much, but the boys' side, we'll just cover it broadly for both of them. For example, I think there was Marinette, I saw one time, they were games above Green Bay West, and they beat them by 40, yet they got a lower seed. And just another example, Brookfield Central beat the number 1 or lost to the number 14 seed, Brookfield East. Brookfield East got a 14 seed. They just beat the number 1 seed, and they have an okay record. Way better. There was just a bunch of teams that were just way misranked, and even around in some EWC brackets, I thought there was a lot of interesting rankings. But it is what it is. You got to beat everybody. But yeah, I definitely think it'll either go back to Zoom coach meetings, or they'll just drastically try to change the system. But yeah, very interesting.
I really prefer the coach Zoom meetings. I think that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. Because, wow, we'll talk about some of the boys' ones. I'll want your thoughts for those. But, yeah, the girls here. So we saw Valders get a 6 seed, and then they hosted Horicon. The 11, they beat them 72-32. They beat them by 40. Then they traveled to Winnebago Lutheran Academy, and then they lost by 25. So that ends the Vikings season there. Jordon Lawrenz talked about Manitowoc Lutheran season coming to an end in yesterday's episode. And then we'll talk also about the Roncalli Jets. They hung in there against Coleman, but they eventually lost. So that ends the Jets season as well. So that wraps up the D3 stuff. And now D4 stuff. D3 now with the girls. We saw Brilliant Lions, rightfully so, get that 1 seed. And wow, they had a close game against Sheboygan Falls. What did you think about that, Robert? Only 5-point win against the Falcons.
Well, yeah, I've noticed it kind of be a common theme this year with Brilliant, like facing a zone and getting off to a slow start. And usually that's what happens with any team. But yeah, they got off to a slow start. They were down about 10 in the first half. And I was like, oh, they're fine. They'll figure it out. They got up to about an 18-point lead in the second half and, about to just blow it open. All of a sudden, some subbings made or some Brilliant kind of slows it down a little bit with about 6 minutes left. And before you know it, Sheboygan Falls went on an 11-0 run with about 3 minutes left. And all of a sudden it was like a 9-point game, and you're kind of like, oh, crap, this one actually could be a game if they make some more shots. Boom. I think they made like 2 more threes in there. Then they started falling. All of a sudden it's a 4-point game. And it was very close. Brilliant. They hit a three at the buzzer from about 30 feet, Sheboygan Falls. So they were up about 8, and then they made about 5-point game, or 4-point, whatever it was. Yeah, it was. I mean, not great, but yeah, they got it done, I guess. But yeah, definitely too close for comfort in a game like that.
Talk about another game too close for comfort. They hosted Utzberg, the 4th seed, and wow, 64-62. They got the win there. They won by 2 against number 4. Were you able to catch any of that? Any thoughts?
Yes. After my game last night, got back in my room and caught the second half. I rewatched the whole game, but yeah, Utzberg's a good team. They beat the Mishicot Indians, who Brilliant lost to by about 20 points. I looked. Utzberg's a good team, as all teams are at this stage in the tournament. And they were red hot. They came out. Brilliant was down about 15 to 18 points in the first half. And one player for Brilliant that I'm not going to say won them the game, but she played really well was Hannah Shimmick. I mean, she had a bunch of threes in 3 to 4. I think she had 4 threes, and it was very tough rebounding, a lot of good assists. She really helped out the Brilliant squad in that game, and they kind of came back. She had a 3 to put them up by 3 with 124 remaining, excuse me. Yeah, they got it done, and now they have Kiel, right?
Yeah, they do have Kiel, but also Megan Schumann put up 24 in that game as well to help out the Lions and their cause, and they won the second half, and that's what it took. They outscored them 32-28, and that gave them the 2-point win, that 4-point swing right there. So looking now in the bracket, as you mentioned, they do have the Kiel Raiders. They go to sectional semi. It is in Two Rivers. So the Two Rivers Raiders are hosting it, and that's going to be a good game. We saw them split the regular season series. So best out of 3 really here. Winner takes all. This is going to be good. Coach Vandermeer formerly from Brilliant here, and now coaching the Raiders and coaching against Jeff Capelli's squad. So this should be some good stuff, Robert. Any thoughts coming into this game? Because we've seen Brilliant, make these games really close, and Kiel took care of New Holsting. They beat them by 9. So what do you think? What are your thoughts coming in this game?
First off, I'm not entirely surprised by Kiel beating New Holsting. Thought from what I've just seen briefly, I thought Kiel, they had a nice game against Chilton, who Chilton got hot at the end of the year, but they had a nice game their first round against Chilton, and then they took it to New Holsting, I guess, by 9. Not very surprised there. So Kiel's hot. When they're shooting hot, I believe was it Edelman who had a lot of points in the first half?
I will check on that.
I think on Twitter I saw she had like 18 first half points or something. Maybe it was 18 for the game, but I thought it was first half. So yeah, she's playing well when they're shooting it well. Kiel, and when they kind of just play through their starters and then their stars, they're tough to beat. They can get hot. I think this one will be very close. Neutral sites. Yeah, this is what you play for. This is what you start practicing in November for. These games right here, and yeah, I really don't know. I would like to think Brilliant a little bit, just because they have a little more experience maybe, but yeah, I'm not really sure right now. It'll be a close game for sure.
But yeah, I like what you said. Play through your stars. Edelman, Ash, Fromm. Yep. I think these play through those players,
this time of year.
Yeah, especially like those players are going to win you the game, and then of course Brilliant's going to play through. People like Schumann, and you mentioned Shimmick played well, and then Emmer, of course. They have Brilliant certainly should be favorited here, I'd say, but who knows? It is about to be March. It'll be March the day this episode airs. So how about that? But yeah, we'll talk then with other EWC teams, as you mentioned. Kiel took care of Chilton, no problem, by 18. And then Two Rivers lost to New Holstein. New Holstein beat them by 23 there. So, yeah, that'll kind of that wraps up, I guess, the girls. Falls, I mean, they beat Denmark. And then, like we mentioned, they gave Brilliant a run for their money. But let's kind of move over now to talk about boys basketball now. And now in March, as we said, we saw the Roncalli Jets. They won the EWC, so you would think that would solidify, with Luke Pouts, but we'll leave the player of the year and the conference stuff for another episode, as we said. So, but Roncalli Jets 13-1 in conference, 20-3 overall. Brilliant Lions 12-2 in conference, 22-2 overall. Kiel Raiders 10-4 in conference, 15-8 overall. The Valors Vikings 9-5 in conference, 11-12 overall. The Chilton Tigers 6-8 in conference, 13-11 overall. The Two Rivers Raiders 3-11 in conference, 6-16 overall. Sheboygan Falls 2-12 in conference, 4-20 overall. And then the New Holstein Huskies 1-13 in conference, and then 2-22 overall. So, looking at the stat leaders from top to bottom, points per game, Luke Pouts wins the scoring title, 24.9 a game. Jeremy Lawrence 20.6, Pierce Arns 19.4. Cole Hovey, 14.8, and then Jackson Olsen, 13.6. So 2 Valders players to round it out. Rebounds per game, Grant Munns gets the job done, 15.3 rebounds a game. Alex Breckheimer of Chilton, 12 boards a game. And then Jeremy Lawrence, 11.6 a game. Assist leaders, Pierce Arns, 5.4. Mason Myers, 4.7. Then Joe Witzak, 4.2. So that wraps up the EWC stats and then standings. But hey, we got some games coming up. We have some good ones, Robert, in the boys, playoff, but we'll talk about some of the seeds that some of the teams got, and I thought they were interesting. Of course, the givens were Roncalli and Brilliant both getting ones. We saw that, thankfully. They couldn't mess that one up, but what do you think about Valders getting the 7 in the D4 sectional 4?
Yeah, I saw they were the 7. Didn't really see how many teams, what exactly teams were ahead of them, but I mean, I'll say this, the most important factor in the computer scheduling the computer seeding was just, you got to have a great record. And Valders, they played a really tough schedule this year, so their record wasn't as great as some of the other teams. So that's just the unfortunate part, but I do like their path. I mean, I think they have an okay path. We've seen Valders, compete with a lot of teams. And I mean, it's going to be a tough rematch. Do they get to sectionals and face Sheboygan Lutheran? But I think they definitely could get there.
Yeah, spot on. Looking through their way, a Destiny team is not a good one. I was looking through some of the scores and stats, common opponents, but it's hard to judge common opponents. It's a gauntlet. So, but if they do beat Destiny, which they should, and then they go to St. Mary's Springs, they have a similar schedule, and it's they both played Kiel, and both were like a couple possession difference. It was scoring wise, but it's hard to judge that. And then of course, they also both lost to Laconia. So looking, they have fairly common schedules. So not saying that means everything, but Valders they've beat the better teams. We saw them they hung in there against Brilliant. I mean, they beat them then the second time around, and then also. They play bad against teams like Sheboygan Lutheran. They lost by 50. So it's really hard to judge, what we're going to get out of this Valders team. But like Robert said, there is potential, to see this team maybe make the sectional. But yeah, because with Valders going down to D4, they're actually the only team from the EWC in that sectional. But Robert, I don't know if you looked at Roncalli's path. What do you think of their path to the state tournament?
Yeah, I didn't really look at it again that much. They're going to have to beat Iola. I know that. But originally, I think, unless they just do really bad one game and lose like they kind of did last year, or something unforeseen happens, I definitely think they'll be in the sectional final again. I have them picked to go to state. I believe they will go to state just because they're playing really good ball right now. They had kind of a little skid in the middle of the year. Like they were playing so tough the first month of the season. Didn't play the greatest teams, but they just looked awesome on offense. Then on offense, they kind of just had a lull. They lost to Denmark. They won on a buzzer beater to Little Chute, lost to Brillion there, lost to Plymouth. Just played a lot of teams close too that they didn't the first time, but definitely like they kind of got back on track. Had a dominating win against Brillion. They were the better team the entire night. Won some games recently in a row here, so I definitely think they're hot right now. Back to kind of how they were playing last year and the beginning of the year. So I do like them. Iola, they got a tough guy, Parker Prawl, his name. But I do think that'll be the sectional final matchup. It'll be a close game, but I think Roncalli, there's a track where they go to state this year, and I think it's not that unlikely.
Yeah, I'm with you. Coleman being the 2 seed, that'll have to be them or like a team like St. Mary Catholic to get to the sectional semis, it seems. But they can't lose to Manitowoc Lutheran. Lutheran plays at O'Connell, so if they win that game, they head to Roncalli. So we'll see a rematch of last year's regional game. So hopefully we don't see them lose to the Lancers. I don't think they will this year. I think last year was completely different, but hey, they got a more experienced squad now. Pout's being a senior. That's a big thing right there. And we'll see where the Jets can go. Cause like you said, I think state is in the potential for the Roncalli Jets, but let's go then to D3 now, after we talk D4 teams. They're all like kind of in the same area, so this is kind of nice here. Brilliant. They got the 1 spot, and rightfully so, in D3. And then on the 2 on the bottom, Campbell Sport, Robert. This is a Campbell Sport team, we see now get a 2 seed. I know Valor's played them. They beat them a few years ago, but do you know anything about that Campbell Sport squad?
I know they started the year, I think like maybe 12-0, they're 10-0. Like they started really good, undefeated. Then they lost a couple games, but they got a good record. So that's really much all they have. They got a good record. I don't think they played, a ton of difficult teams, but still, it's still hard to have a good record when you're, 15 games above 500. That's always great. So yeah, they just had a better record than Denmark. KML, so I think that's just why they were higher.
Yeah, for sure at that. But then let's look then at the 3 spot. Yeah, Calmoraine Lutheran, and then they'll play the winner of number 11 Sheboygan Falls and number 6 Kiel. So Kiel gets a 6th spot there. I think they take care of Falls there, and then they'll probably move on. But we'll have to wait and see with that. Southern Door. The 4, they host number 13 New Holstein. Number 12 TR goes to Denmark. So Denmark getting a 5. That's going to be a tough 5 seed if they make it and they beat Southern Door and they play in the regional final against Brillion. Donovan Short's a guy you think of right away. But Robert, what do you think?
Yeah, this is kind of what I said. Not to like for example, in Brillion's case, just for example. I was kind of hoping Brillion, would get that 1 just because I kind of figured middle way through the year, Denmark and KML would be, your other 2 teams. So if you only have to play one of those teams, that would be, your benefit. But yeah, unfortunately, like you said, the computer, a little bit off. I do think Denmark's the 2nd or 3rd best team, maybe even a chance to be the best team when Short and Conkle are rolling. Yeah, so they're good. It's going to be a regional final. I definitely think Denmark wins their first 2 games. Can almost guarantee it. I believe Southern Door lost to Sheboygan Falls earlier in the year, so I don't think they're on Denmark's level. I definitely like Denmark in that one, so I think that'll be a really fun game to watch with Short and Lawrenz. And then I think Kiel, they'll win their first game, and I just think there's a lot of. Who else did you mention is in that one? Kiel, Sheboygan Falls, and was there another one?
Yeah, so that's on the bottom part. The top one is New Holstein.
Sorry.
Yeah, New Holstein, Southern Door, the 13, the 4, Denmark and TR, the 5 and the 12, and then Chilton Utzberg, 9 and 8. So Brillion plays the winner of Chilton Utzberg.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be And then the bottom, I'll recap it right now. Number 3, Kettle Moraine Lutheran plays the winner of Falls and Kiel. And then number 2, Campbellsport plays the winner of number 7, Kewanee, number 10, Sturgeon Bay. So that wraps up that part of the D3 thing, the D3, I guess, bottom corner, bottom right corner. And then Northland Pines gets the one on top. So they would play, number 2 Freedom as well, or another seed in there. They would end up playing, Brilliant made it all the way. They would play them for a trip to state. So are any of those teams ones you would not want to play up in that top right?
Well, yeah, I hope we play Northland Pines, but like we said, again, they're not the best team. The best 2 teams in there are Freedom and Xavier, who I would really not want to play. I mean, Freedom, they took LCL, Lake Country Lutheran, to overtime earlier in the year. They're a solid team. They're well coached. And Xavier is an explosive team too. They're kind of streaky. Like they lost to Kingdom Prep Lutheran recently at Xavier, which is a tough place to play. We saw Brilliant play Kingdom Prep Lutheran in the year. They won by about 20. So I don't really know, but I definitely, when they're on, I don't want to mess with them. They beat Valders by a bunch.
A lot,
they beat
yeah.
Some other teams. They beat other teams really big. They have Alex Sherwood, Charlie Pfefferly, and they got experience. They've been, pretty good for the last 10 plus years. So they're always going to be good. Yeah, so those are the 2 teams I'd like to stick away from. And those are definitely, I think, the best 2 teams, but you never know. I mean, when you got the 1 seed, Northland Pines, you could get hot. You're obviously a good team if you get that, but you never know.
Yeah, and number 4 plays, like Xavier has to play on a Tuesday night as well. So
yes,
but I think, I like you said, they've been solid. They're always a squad to look out for, no matter where they are. I feel like Valders is as well. Like they're a 7 seed right now, and teams are still, not wanting to play them. Some of those teams that they would have to match up in that bottom.
I'm glad they're in.
Yeah, and that's just how it works with enrollment because, yeah, like you mentioned, Brilliant probably doesn't want to play them a third time.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
But team like Sheboygan Lutheran maybe is like, okay, if we have to play them, if we're rooting for them to make it but I'm sure we'll get a better game if that were the case, considering the back-to-back they put Valders in. Talk about a back-to-back. That is as tough as it gets. But, yeah, Robert, do you have anything else? We talk playoffs now. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think, obviously you're always looking for teams. I think Brilliant and Roncalli both have realistic shots, to go to the state tournament. Kiel, they're also a team that can get hot, but I just don't – they're a couple years away yet if they have a chance, I think. But, yeah, I just think overall we're in for a lot of good games here. So, definitely it will be an exciting time. And, yeah, like you said, we'll have our rankings and player of the year picks in a little bit or a little later. So, yeah, it'll be a fun couple weeks here to see how those teams kind of play out.
For sure. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be at the state tournament, Robert. I don't know if you'll end up being able to make it with you got your Oshkosh Titans, busy.
Yeah,
hard to work with them.
If we make the national, if we make the Final Four, whatever, the national championship game, I won't be there, but that's a good reason to miss it. So
that is indeed, but
definitely a fun time.
Yeah, for sure. And this was a lot of fun, Robert. And hey, make sure to follow EWC Sports on Instagram at EWC_sports. Then Jordan Drew the Sports Crew on Instagram, Jordan Drew _sports crew. And yeah, that wraps up our EWC breakdown for March 1st, 2022. So thank you all for listening to yet another episode of Jordan Drew the Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.